It is now 9:30. I will call the public hearing of the Community Development Block Grant for the Trammell Community Revitalization to order. And the notice is for a joint meeting with the Board of Supervisors and the, and the Industrial Development Authority for the presentation and discussion. Well, no, that's the second part. This is on the bottom part of this.
Yeah.
And the adoption of a resolution for the Community Development Block Grant application for the Trammell Community Revitalization Project on Thursday, March 24th in the second floor conference room at the Dickinson Center for Education and Research. We are streaming live this morning. Anybody who, and the phone number is running across the screen, but you can also, the number is 276-333-0357. We do have a couple of people present from People Inc. If they have a statement or comment or anything that they want to make with this, you can come forward or stand up or what.
May I sit here? Or?
Yes, that'd be fine.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Alberto Hymas. I am the Community Development Specialist for People Incorporated. Actually, we do have a couple of handouts. If you want, just give everyone one of each. I'm also joined today by Brian Ailey. So Brian is my supervisor and the Vice President and Chief Development Officer for People Inc. We are a nonprofit organization and community action agency based out of Abingdon, Virginia. And we're here today to hold a second public hearing regarding the Trammell Community Revitalization Project. That would be phase 2 of that project, and the Virginia Community Development Block Grant. Just as a quick recap, we did a first public hearing on March 16th at the Trammell Baptist Church. During that meeting, we discussed our intent to apply for a community improvement grant under the Community Development Block Grant Program, which you might hear referred to as CDBG. And for that grant, we're applying for a maximum award size of $1,250,000, which would allow us to pursue the activities of housing rehabilitations, substantial reconstructions, and permanent relocations. So housing rehabilitations is just another term for housing improvements, substantial reconstructions for rebuilds, and permanent relocation is just as the name implies. In all three of those cases, we are required to provide residents with an anti-displacement plan, which would mean that if residents have to step out of their homes for any of the construction activities that might take place as a result of development or redevelopment, we are required to provide an anti-displacement plan, kind of detailing out plans for their lodging and storage for their belongings. This year, we're looking at an application deadline of April 1st, 2022. And we're looking at the addresses between 11342 Daintmount Road and 11003 Daintmount Road. We're looking at a kind of a subdivision between two areas there. So if you look at the map, basically on the left, starting with the number 1, that would be the 11342 Daintmount Road address. That's basically right by the Trammell Baptist Church. It's actually the first home on the same side of the street. And it runs all the way until that number 8 over there, which is 11209 Daintmount Road. So we're looking to pursue 6 substantial reconstructions in that area. Those are the ones that are shaded in blue. And we have 2 grayed out properties which we have to move to a potential phase 3 of the project, given the budget constraint that we're working with being $1,250,000. And that's even with $60,000 that we have available from the Federation of Appalachian Housing Enterprises, or FAHE, which could help us toward housing rehabilitations exclusively. So those would be rental properties. Apart from that, we have also 2 Renault Rehabs that are on the bottom right. You'll see them marked as number 9 and number 10. Those are 11011 and 11003 Daintmount Road, respectively. So those are 2 rental rehabs, and we're basically maxed at the award size of $1,250,000, according to our budget estimates. We have already surveyed the community. We have gotten surveys from pretty much all of the participating homes. Each home is LMI, and it has consented to participation. We're also working on participation from the rental properties. We have already called Bins County Community Center. They seem eager to participate, and I think they have participated before on a phase 1 of the project, and they were kind of moved into phase 2, which is the current application. So really what's left is just to get a formal letter from them declaring their intent for us to allow us to work on those rental homes. And the last kind of order of business we have before we can proceed with the grant application is the item that was mentioned today, which is the Dickinson County resolution. And that would basically allow us, on behalf of Dickinson County, to submit an application for CDBG funds to pursue those housing activities for the support of 8 LMI households in the area, excuse me. So with that in mind, if you have any questions, I'll gladly take them, or any comments as well.
I have one. What do you mean by renter? Are these homes that are owned by somebody else and they rent them?
Only the ones that are in green. The ones that are in blue are owned, so those are owner
So
occupied.
you only have 2 in green that are rentals?
Yes, and that's really because those are, the gray ones are also rentals. We had to shift them to another
Where's
phase.
that say that Ben's Council is in?
In green.
It's in the back. There is map
Oh,
key.
I didn't know it was the back page.
Yeah, it's fine. I should have probably mentioned that. So those are basically the properties that we can work with.
Same things in our book.
Okay, thank you.
Last week.
You're welcome.
On Monday.
So, I do have a question. When all done, phase 1, phase 2, and I think you're phase 3, how many homes are we looking at total that'll remain?
So phase 1, we're looking at, and I'm just going to add them up here. Phase 1 it was 9 properties, technically 8 because one of them dropped out. The investor just wasn't interested. So if we add 8 plus the 10 that we have here, or rather the 8 because we had to drop out those ones that are grayed out, we're looking at about 16 total.
15?
16.
Okay, got
Yeah.
it.
So the 8 here and the 8 from phase 1,
Thank you.
which were also as
I've driven through there, I think it looks great. Besides some things that could be done in
Yeah.
addition, not by you, but by us. It
Sure.
looks great, the rehab.
Alberto, that'll be with the block development funds. It wouldn't be anything with the set-aside money from the budget. I don't think we have numbers on those yet, do we? That's right. How many
That's right.
properties that can be completed with the 2 million additional that will be coming from the budget this year?
Yes.
This is just looking at the 1.25 million, not anything included, because don't have,
The first 1 million,
Yeah.
and then
no.
Yes.
phase 2 would be the 1.25.
And just as a small caveat as well, on the map, it says phase 1 complete. So technically, that's actually phase 1 completion, and what the difference there is that phase 1 is in the process of being completed. So there's a couple of homes that are we're still working on. Not that we need any funds or anything for that. They're already in process. It's just a matter of time at this point for them to be completed.
Right.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I just wanted to add that we're calling these phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, but really it's the first community block grant, the second community development block grant, and then the congressional earmark that you all have gotten the set aside for. And so it's very likely that once we understand how that money will flow at the state level, that what we're calling phase 2 and phase 3 will probably overlap to a large degree. We talked about that in the community meeting last week. We just don't know enough about how the money will be released from the Congress at the earmark at this time to know when that will start, but those activities should overlap. We expect them to overlap, so it won't be,
Is any of the properties above the playground, sort of down off the road on the right, on the same side of the playground, is any of those going to be part of phase 3?
Potentially. Really, anything that might be considered the Trammell community, we're really trying to cover
Okay.
as much as we can. So we're looking at East Walnut, we're looking at
I don't know
area
that
as
it-
well.
About those houses.
I'm not sure how many of those homes are occupied down through there, but I know a Hellboy, a Bailey family, a Powers lady. and another guy, and I can't think his name. I know there's 4, I think, living there.
Okay. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see with the set-aside money,
Hubble.
what kind of scope we can generate and what kind of flexibility we have with those funds. You know, we know what the parameters of the CDBG program are, but that's more of an unknown on the set-aside. So, we might have more flexibility to stretch into some areas that we can't with the CDBG or not as easily.
Yeah, before you got started, I had residents calling me or having me to come up. Do we need to buy firewood? Do we need to do this or do that? Or is our home going to get started before winter? And this was the winter before with all the COVID stuff that you was sort of pushed out a little bit from getting started. But people was anxious to get going on it. And the ones that are already in, I think, are very appreciative.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would also, the only other thing I would add to that and to what Alberto was saying was that now that we are, finishing up that phase 1 of the project, we're in a much better position going into this round of CDBG funding because we have real up-to-date construction numbers on what those homes are costing to build. And so from a budget and financial standpoint, we have really great and current information, whereas we didn't. And I think probably everybody in this room knows that the last 2 years in the construction market have been
Terrible.
Bananas. It's just been all over the place. But we're in a position now where we know how much the stuff is costing, so we know how far the dollar is going to go. We can, Alberto has identified the houses that we're going to target, and we feel like the impact is, pretty visible coming through the community there.
Yeah, if it was, my dad was still here, he would be shaking his head. That stick he used to beat me with when I misbehaved cost $10 now.
You know what amazes me is that you would work on rental property. I mean, you would think the rental owner would be responsible for keeping their house livable, but I noticed you've got 2 that's rental.
Well, we had, Alberto and I actually had a conversation about that on the way here today. And the focus of the CDBG is certainly on the owner-occupied properties. Because the CDBG program really keys on the benefit to the lower moderate income individual receiving the house or the update to the house.
But you would think the homeowner.
You would think so. The reason that the rental is on there is because there are some mechanisms that the owner of that property has to abide by to keep that property affordable for the resident. They can't just take the benefit and then kick somebody out and then rent it for twice as much. They'd be out of compliance. We haven't focused on rentals because the program is much more suited to owner occupied, but because they're interspersed in the community, we want to try to, as much as we can, facelift everything that we can in there, and that does include some rental properties.
That makes them available though to get,
Well,
To get,
I'm sure that these people, their income's low enough, they probably qualify for that.
the resident, if the resident qualifies and the house
ahead.
passes the inspection, then
if they own them, they can still rent them to HUD and get reimbursed quite a bit of money.
Could I add something to what Brian was saying?
Yes.
There's also the fact that those 2 properties we're working on were part of what we used to call
That's right.
phase 1. And from a normative standpoint, we wouldn't want to tell these residents, especially one of them is wheelchair bound, that we're going to move them into phase 3 or just not assist them. So I think as a matter of a principle for us, we're really trying to just kind of wrap up those 2 rental homes because we did provide or offer to provide them assistance when we had our original budget estimates for phase 1, and that was just right pre-COVID. So I think, that's one rationale for why we're helping those 2 rentals as well.
that's good.
well, and I was gonna add, I think also your scope, you're trying to transition the whole community.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's why they're included.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's true.
And we added one extra home that we were initially thinking that we were not going to get because the homeowner was a little bit reluctant to participate. And we had 5 substantial reconstructions the last public hearing, and now we have 6. So I think in a way we are being inclusive of the owner occupied.
Why would anybody not want to participate?
Yeah,
Or no,
That's
There's
crazy.
several, there's
it's
several.
really hard to tell, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Like I'm going to rehab off that.
They run into instances,
instances.
Mark has run into instances where people wouldn't even open the door, answer the door.
Sure.
Yeah,
And, we can kind of, people are skeptical sometimes, and they have their reasons, but we're trying to reach as many people as we can. And Alberto's right, we did get to add one to it, and those 2 rentals are left over remaining from the first phase, and we are trying to address the entire community as much as we can.
Well, I guess you need, first I make a motion.
it's
We
in the
pass-
next,
No, we can't make a motion.
it's in our next actual hearing.
Oh, okay, that's right, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Alberto, this your first time in this role?
No, I have done some other development work, but that was in housing we tried in the town of Tazewell for, I was interning when I was doing my master's of public administration at Virginia Tech.
I was just gonna say, your presentation was awesome.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
You did well.
What'd you say your name
That was
was?
Alberto Hymas.
What?
Alberto?
Alberto. He moved here from Oregon, and
Yeah.
after he got hired, but he's also had been in the area and attended Virginia Tech before he went to Oregon, right?
What was your
You're-
name, sir?
I'm Brian Ailey.
Brian Allen.
Yes.
You were all versed in the project, I could tell by your presentation, that you did great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I noticed no notes hardly.
Here, I guess, like.
It was a long drive. I drove.
You drove?
Yeah.
It's funny, I'm watching that 1883 where they're going to Oregon.
The other
You
direction.
seen that? They're going to Oregon?
Yeah.
Man, are they?
He has taken Mark Mormon's position
Oh,
on the.
you are the one
Yeah.
taking?
On the project, yes.
Yes, on the project, yes.
Yeah, Mark is being promoted to Director of Affordable Housing Management.
Yeah.
So I've been taking over kind of a grant management role for this project.
Yeah, Mark's supervising our management team now, so if you guys want to send him any sympathy cards,
I believe you can.
Okay. No one's called in with comment? Some of the residents in Trammell talked like at the meeting last week that they may come today, but evidently in speaking up for, the support of their town. I know. I don't live in Trammell. I live down between, down below Trammell, coming this way, but I probably know everybody in Trammell. There may be a few that I don't really know that well, but I probably know about everyone by name in Trammell, even before I started this.
yeah.
And I tried to help Mark out.
Oh, you have been, it's been a huge help.
I went up and got applications, got their social security statements, emailed all that stuff in, take their paperwork back, go get paper signed, go home, fax it to Mark, take it back. Yeah.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Thank you.
thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Appreciate you all coming from Abington over here this morning.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You all stop in Trammell and
Glad to
work?
do it.
Yeah.
Are you? Good.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
guys.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys, we'll send that to you, so we'll look for that. Thank you.
Okay, if there's nothing else, we will, to discuss on this, we will, take a move and second to adjourn from our public hearing.
So moved.
Okay,
1 second.
we have a move and second to adjourn our public hearing, and all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And we will reconvene at 10 o'clock with our joint meeting. It is 10:01. It is time to call our joint meeting with the Industrial Development Authority and the Board of Supervisors to order. I'd like to recognize that all members are present, board members are present, our clerk, Teresa Lyle, our county administrator, Mr. Barton. I think our county attorney is on his way. Oh, okay. And we are live streaming, so Adam Mullins is here taking care of that. And now I will ask the IDA to open, and then we will go from there for prayer and pledge.
Okay, good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to, this time, call the Industrial Development Authority special meeting to order, joint meeting with the Board of Supervisors. Let's see, I think we're all present and accounted for.
Matthew Fuller's not here.
I'm sorry, we have one member absent, Matt Fuller. He has a hard time
He works away from the county.
getting off from his job, but got our legal counsel, Freddie here, Freddie Mullins with us, Attorney Freddie Mullins.
Mitzi.
Our Executive Director, Mitzi. Brenda's here with us, taking minutes. So I guess we're ready to get started. Is it okay if I go over our agenda for a minute?
Yeah, I was going to do prayer and pledge.
Well,
Then
yeah,
we can do it.
that's what we were going to do.
Okay,
too. So
go
if you want
ahead.
to just do it jointly, we can.
That's fine.
Yeah,
You go
Madam
ahead.
Chair. So do you have someone choose to,
I think Larry was going to do
that
prayer.
sounds fine with me. Let's go ahead.
Let's pray.
I'm ready.
Most kind and gracious Heavenly Father, Lord, we're just thankful to be here again this morning, Lord. Lord, to take care of the matters of the county, Lord. Lord, just be with us, Lord, as we try to move forward, Lord, as we look to a new beginning. Lord, as we try to do what we can to improve the economy of our county. Lord, bless all of our leaders that's here with us today, Lord. Bless Matt that wasn't able to make it with us. We just pray, Lord, that you would give them all wisdom, give them discernment as they make decisions and as they lead the county and as they lead our efforts in economic development. And we just pray, Lord, that our county can be prosperous, Lord. Lord, be with us all, we pray. Amen.
If everyone face the flag.
Okay.
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay.
We have one order of business that we need to take care of. Number 3 on our agenda, which is the resolution from our public hearing that we just had. And from there, the rest of the meeting will be based and focused on economic development.
Madam Chair, you think we ought to adopt the agenda? Approve the agenda?
Probably. I was going by the order that it was listed, and it wasn't listed, and I hadn't thought about that. But yes, we can adopt the agenda.
I'll make a motion, we adopt the agenda.
I'll say.
Okay, we have a moving second to adopt their agenda. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
I will,
With them.
I will now make the
Pardon
motion
me,
to pass the
Wait a minute.
resolution.
Would it be okay if we adopt our agenda?
Yes.
Just as a matter of.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
And then I'll just step back up. Just want to get our agenda adopted.
Okay.
So the floor is open to adopt the Industrial Development Authority
Move to
agenda.
adopt the agenda.
I'll say.
Motion and a second to adopt the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Sorry. Thank you.
That's okay.
I've been trying to do this for about.
You tried to do this in public hearing.
Okay, yeah, I think I stepped in on part of that.
I will, Madam Chairman,
Yes.
I will make a motion to pass a resolution with the intent to pursue the CDBG funds for assisting 8 low middle income households in Trammell.
Okay. And a second.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a moving second to adopt the resolution in support of the Community Development Block Grant for the Trammell Community Revitalization Project of $1.25 million that they are applying for. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And aye as well. Okay. Our agenda number 4 item is the presentation and discussion of the new economic development plan. Not sure who all is taking charge of all of that. Mr. Yates or
I'd say Mr.
Mr.
Phillips.
Phillips?
Well, yeah,
Phillips?
that's our item number, agenda number 5, Ms. Kaiser, so,
Okay.
you know, we're just in sync with you all.
Okay.
I'll open the floor up to, I guess,
Mr. Phillips,
Mr. Phillips and Mr. Barton, probably over there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
This morning, we had an opportunity to do something probably has been the first ever, I think, for the county, is the adoption of a potential comprehensive economic development plan. There have been discussions and talks and sort of many attempts to do some of the things that we are addressing in the plan, but this is probably the first opportunity for the county united from a perspective of a joint economic development plan between the IDA and the Dickinson County Board of Supervisors. What we'd like to do is maybe to give the county administrator an opportunity to make some brief opening remarks, and then if you'll give me the pleasure of making some remarks about the proposed plan, then we'll follow that up.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. Again, echoing what Mr. Phillips had said, you know, this is a unique opportunity as well as a wonderful opportunity for our county. And as we talk about this is our county plan. It's not, and when I say county, I don't mean county as in Board of Supervisors. I mean county as in Dickinson County as a whole. For the Board of Supervisors, the IDA, and all other affected parties to come together and work together with a common goal. And we're very grateful for Mr. Phillips coming back with us. He came back in January, and since this time, he's worked very diligently at putting together this plan, a very good draft of the plan. This is all new stuff. It's not that we took someone else's plan and kind of modified that, but this was all just forward thinking, mainly on Mr. Phillips' part of putting this together, and he's reached out and got feedback and input from all of you, as well as a lot of outside agencies as well, to look at this plan. Very important part of this plan is the fact that it's not just something like a pie in the sky hope or an idea that we hope to do, that, you know, we hope to create better jobs, or we hope to get better roads, or we hope to get better housing. But, you know, in going through, it's setting out specific goals that are measurable, which is very important with this to keep us on track, keep us focused on this. I'm very excited to begin implementation of this and for Mr. Phillips' help with the implementation of this plan. There's a lot of things that address issues that we've dealt with and are currently dealing with right now when it comes to evaluating new projects. That's probably one of my favorite parts of the plan, is the fact that they have an vetting committee in here, so that we're not expending all of our energy just kind of chasing these rabbits all the time. You know, we're coming in and we're asking, you know, whoever the applicant is actually thought an application, kind of like if you're going to the bank, if you're starting a business and you need something, you know, we put a little more on their part to kind of do their homework before they come to us. And then, of course, we want to help anybody we can to develop and grow their business. But again, you know, I don't want to take up a lot of time. Mr. Phillips is going to get into the details on this, but, you know, I'm just very excited to be a part of this, and I'm very excited to see what happens going forward. So,
Thank you. Members of the committee, and Mr. Chair and Madam Chair, there's constant an opportunity in every organization's and every county's lifespan that there is an opportunity to really make a difference in the lives of the citizens of its community and its county. And I don't want to be over dramatic, and I don't intend to be over dramatic, but I think what these two boards are attempting to accomplish today is a watershed moment. It's a watershed moment in the sense that it's the first, in my knowledge, to my knowledge, that there has actually been an attempt by both of these boards to unite and draft a common blueprint from which to work. It's easy for both boards to, I guess, feel that they've got certain obligations or certain directions, certain policies that they want to pursue. But lots of times it results in some disunity, and lots of times misdirection, and lots of times a failure to be cohesive in terms of selecting and moving forward with an economic development plan which would be beneficial to all the citizens of Dickinson County. Now, ultimately what we're talking about, we're not talking about the Board of Supervisors, we're not talking about the IDA in this plan. What this plan contemplates is your citizens. It contemplates creating an opportunity to create a community, to create jobs, economic opportunity, and improve the quality of life for all of the citizens of Dickinson County. And that's why I said this is a watershed moment. And in our an attempt to look at a potential plan, what we found out was that most of the counties don't have this kind of cohesive plan in place to orchestrate economic development successfully. They do it in sort of a bifurcated basis, and sometimes that creates a lot of issues and problems in other counties around us. And that's what we want to avoid. We want to avoid that sort of division sometimes, or lack of cohesion in creating an economic development plan. And as Larry emphasized, this is a county plan. It's not uniquely the Board of Supervisors, nor is it uniquely the IDAs. It's uniquely a county plan, a county blueprint, as I've said previously, to economic development. And when I went out and started looking at this and thinking about it and trying to figure out basically how to try to move this forward, what I found is that there are very few templates out there to work from. There was basically nothing that we could find, that I could find, or anybody had, that contemplated the plan that we are looking at today. It is basically from scratch. Now, no plan is perfect. It's a living document, which means this living document can be amended, it can be changed to benefit the citizens of Dickinson County as both boards sees fit now and in the future. And I'm sure as time goes on that it will have to be updated, but it should be updated and changed with the concurrence of both of these boards, so that the unity and the blueprint, common blueprint, would succeed and move forward. The second thing that I found in my research, and we did some research into my good assistant, Miss Reba McCown. She, I'd give her assignments to do, to go and look for things and try to find things while I was doing other things. And what we found was that there are a lot of studies that have been done. A lot of studies from the academic side and from various organizational sides throughout Southwest Virginia. But what I found was in these studies by Virginia Tech Co-op, Virginia Tech Co-op, from Go Virginia, from various planning districts in Southwest Virginia, they're very good at identifying what your weaknesses are. They can tell you what they feel is wrong or what problems you have in developing an economy. What they're short on is giving you specific things that each county or this county can specifically do to improve economic development. And one of the things that really sort of rubbed me the wrong way is when I started doing the analysis and doing the review, the literature review, and doing this, I found sort of study after study saying, Dickinson County has this problem, has these challenges. That's all I could find. And you have all these challenges. And not one of these studies ever listed what I felt were the major strengths and opportunities of this county. And we wanted to set the record straight in this plan as to what our strengths are. And so, as I said, there weren't much help at all in terms of trying to create a unique economic development plan which would serve the interests of citizens of Dickinson County and the people of Dickinson County. And once we did that literature study and review, secondly, we went out and we talked to folks. We discussed this with local and regional leaders throughout Southwest Virginia. And we also, once we did put something together, we had them review it, do a peer review from these organizations to look at it and say, what do you think about it? What do we need to do? What do we need to add? What is it that we need to focus on? And creating a unique economic opportunity for Dickinson County. And they did give us feedback, and so we incorporated that feedback. In addition, one of the keys to this plan was to make sure that every board member, every IDA member had an opportunity to follow as we were drafting it. And we made sure that you had an opportunity to see all of the specifics as we move forward, and with an opportunity to get your input and review as well. So that is sort of the basis of how we approach this process. And this plan is a blueprint, is a foundation that is unique in this form, and I'm using unique a lot here, but it is. It's the first time, in fact, several of the folks who did the peer review said, we've never seen anything like this before. We don't know of any plan like this that's ever been attempted in any county in Southwest Virginia. Everybody's sort of doing their own thing, and it's not sometimes to the best interest for everybody doing their own thing, that it's better to have a unified plan in the way we move forward. And so lastly, before I get into some other comments, sometimes you look at a document, as I said, this is not a perfect document. It's available for updated review, clarification, and changes. But you never let the perfect stand in the way of the good, in my opinion. There's potentially a lot of good that can come out of this plan. And with your help and guidance over the future months and years, I'm confident that it will bear a lot of fruit and a lot of opportunity. The other thing that I found was that in the research is that Dickinson County doesn't need to look backward. The citizens don't need to look backward. We as a county need to look forward. This is a forward-looking document. We're not going to blame anybody for anything that have not happened. We're not going to blame anybody for things that should have happened or did happen. What this document is forward-looking, and it intends to address the future and not the past. If you live in the past and you want to blame everybody else for all the problems you got, all you're going to do is keep on blaming, keep on fighting. And so from that perspective, this forward-looking living document is that attempt to put in place, number one, what is the primary purpose of this document? And if you look on page, there's page number 2 of 22, very clearly, very simply, and we tried to write this document so that it's understandable. And I'll be frank with you, when I read some of these studies, they were very academic. I mean, you took a PhD from Virginia Tech to interpret them and try to figure out what they wanted to do and what their views were. But this document is designed for the average person, the average individual to read it and to understand what the purpose of this plan is and how to accomplish it. If you look at that and read that short paragraph or two there, it says the number one singular objective of this plan is to create jobs. That's it. That's what the duty of this board is. This board, common interest of this board is to create jobs. And from those jobs that we create, it has an inherent ability to recreate and diversify the economic opportunities of the citizens of Dickinson County. You notice I keep emphasizing the talents, the key to creating jobs, it's the citizens. It's these folks that will help us create this viable economy and their talents. It's the citizens and the people here who live here, who want to live here, who hopefully will come back here and stay here. They're the ones that will make this plan a success. And we have to know that they are a key component of this plan. We like to think that the Board of Supervisors and IDA may have a tremendous amount of opportunity and power, and they do. But you can't create and do an economic plan without the cooperation and the success of your citizens, because they're the ones who are going to be the people working in these factories, working in these businesses, creating economic opportunity. And we've got to convince them that we're serious as a county and as the two boards combined in the blueprint, that we're serious about their future. We're concerned about their future. And when we, as a combined board, we're going to do everything we can to maximize an opportunity for them to have a good job, a good paying job, an opportunity to have some good housing potentially in Dickinson County for them for a change that they have access to, an opportunity to have good vocational technical training for a change that they have opportunity to do. So it's the citizens that will, in my opinion, and with their talents and strengths, create this economic development plan or opportunity. Now, if you will, turn to page of the plan, and I'm going through and sort of highlight what I think are some of the key components, 4 of 22. And I was alluding to this previously. Look at under number 9 of page 422. If you look at that first paragraph and Roman number 1 and 2, it says we must understand the historic challenges that we face. We can't run from those challenges. They're there. And you notice I said they're challenges. I don't say they're a weakness. I think there are challenges that we have to ameliorate, have to change, and have to some way find a way around them or over them or through them. But we have to understand those challenges, yes, as a history of Dickinson County, but at the same time and simultaneously, we must understand what our positive attributes are. And I have attempted to list as many as I thought we could put into the plan. There may be others that I've missed, and I apologize. If so, tell me and we'll put them in. And if you'll look at as I said, outsiders are awful good about telling us what our challenges or weaknesses are. And if you look at page 8 of 22, there's probably about 20 of those things that I picked up from the literature. Now, this is not mine. This is the literature that I reviewed. These are the things that they have put down as potentially opportunities for us to overcome. And then if you look on page 22, I've listed some 30 what I thought were attributes of the county. Rather than dwelling on, but you have to understand the challenges. What I'd rather dwell on, things that I want to focus on, is what are the strengths of this county. And if you look, and I want to go through real quickly these 30, because I know there's citizens who are listening who have availability of this plan. But you see probably the first 4, it emphasizes the people. It emphasizes our population, our citizens. And I don't care what folks may say, you know, I've lived here, you've lived here, and you know that we've got a unique workforce. They're a throwback to many years of generation of people who are hard workers. And I find that their workforce are very trainable and very retrainable. They're hardworking and dedicated. They're willing to engage in new skills, new knowledge, and technology. They're very dependable and conscientious. We also have a very unique and quality of life. We have a low tax rate, favorable economic climate, favorable management labor climate. State of Virginia is a right-to-work state, favorable regulatory climate. Local governments are committed to economic development and sound fiscal budget policy. The county is logically, ideally located to serve businesses and industry in the west and the south. We have, and this is one of the things I keep running into is highly important to successful economic development, is high-speed redundant internet, which is trunk line through the county with the possibility of extending high-speed internet to every household or business in the county. Land and real estate costs are relatively low compared to other parts of the Commonwealth or the nation. We have a very favorable and reliable, affordable and reliable natural gas service. We have 2 community colleges that will help implement a strong workforce development program for us. Served by 3 four-year colleges, UVA, and University of Virginia. They are part of that. Some people, well, they're at Charlottesville. No, they're not. They're at UVA. Wise. They'll come here. They'll help us to implement some of the things that we need to do. We have one of the things that I think we ought to be proud of. We have one of the most beautiful campuses for public school system in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And most of us haven't taken opportunity and time to thank the IDA and the boards of supervisors and the school board for what has occurred. I've traveled, and you've traveled, and a lot of folks haven't traveled around the state of Virginia. But there are a lot of school systems in this Commonwealth who have schools that are 70, 80, and 100 years old that are just falling apart at the seam. There's some, probably somewhere between $20 and $30 billion worth of school construction needs in this state that are not being met. But this county had enough foresight through planning to get a brand-new school that's one of the state-of-the-art. It's a beautiful school, and now there is elementary schools being constructed on site as well. That is one of the most unique achievements in your lifetime. It's historic. I can't overemphasize how important those schools are. Some of our citizens take it for granted. It just didn't happen. And you know, there's no saying in the mountains here, if you found a turtle on a fence post, somebody put it there. And what they were saying is, somebody had to make that happen, that school system. And it was a lot of folks who made that system, that new school system happen. We have a new, hopefully ongoing development of a high-tech economic development site out at Red Onion. As I said, we have available world-class broadband. We have multiple local, regional, state, and federal job training incentives. And I have over the last several months, I have put together a list. And I don't think you've ever seen that list. There is a list of all the state, federal, regional, and local incentives, grants, and funds that are available for economic development. You're going to have that at your hands. I'm going to send it to you probably shortly to make sure you have it on your file, but with this. And so there's no reason why, when we look at economic development, that we don't have those at hand and say, here they are. Here are all the things that we have at our disposal, all of these state, local, and federal grants and funds that can be used for economic development. And there's sort of a postscript to that. We have a unique opportunity in the next 5 to 7 years. There's more federal and state money available now than there ever has been for economic development. And that's being overlooked. It's out there. And we have a lot of those that we're cataloging in terms of possibility of grants and funds that are available to Dickinson County. And so this window's open. It's going to be open for 4, 5, 6, 7 years. We better raise it, and we better crawl through that window, because if you don't, you're going to miss a lot of economic opportunities utilizing funds. Now, I'll give you an example. Mr. Lambert and some of us have been looking at one of the goals of this plan is to use some of our remined land or reclamation land to create economic development sites. We've been looking at over the last several weeks, Larry and I and our team and Freddie and Lehman. And there's some real opportunities of some new money. What about, Mr. Lambert, about 20 million or so, new money 22.7. just gotten announced, for example. And we were out on site here last week with the state, and I think there were some federal authorities there, looking at that. And they're willing to assist us getting, hopefully, with the right planning and the right applications, get some of that money. So that's what I'm talking about. You got to be at the right place, right time, know what you got, and be able to access that federal and state money that's out there. We have abundant low electrical power services. We have a lot, as I said, a lot of local, regional, state, and federal incentives, and I'm going to give you a cost of that. Low cost of living, competitive labor cost. I have a daycare center, and we have excellent medical facilities in the hospital, health wagon, and regionally through Ballot. So these are just some of the things that are good about Dickinson County. And sometimes we don't tell our citizens the things we believe that are good about our county. There's lots of things good about our county. So that is sort of the starting point to know exactly how we are to proceed in creating economic development plan. But go to page 11 of 22. And one of my analysis that I hit on was that you can't do everything at once. You can't do everything in this plan at once. It's got to be a foundation. You build your foundation, and on that foundation, you gradually build into a strong economic development. We didn't get here overnight. We're not going to get out of this particular situation we're in economic development overnight either. It's going to be a slow, deliberate, strategic plan to do so. And there's ways to do it in this plan. And if you look at the issue of an anchor, you have to know what it is that you feel are the most important part of an economic development plan. These are called the anchors of the plan. And if you go through these 7, and I want to walk through these 7 with you as to what these anchors are. And the anchors mean that this will be the centerpiece of this economic development plan. And following that centerpiece of this economic development plan will be specific goals that you have to be able to carry out and complete. If you look at number 1, it recognizes that we have an excellent trainable and retrainable workforce, which is depicted as hardworking and willing to engage new skills, knowledge, and technology. And as a part of number 1, and number 2 is we're actually in conjunction with each other. In conjunction with Southwest Virginia Community College, the Mountain Empire Community College, and Dickinson County Public School System, the county IDA has or will develop a world-class training program specifically unique to meet the business needs of the people of Dickinson County. Now, that's going to take hopefully the cooperation with the school system. And everything that I've been able to review over the last several months, if your workforce is not trained, if they're not ready, or if you can't train them after the businesses want to get here, and we can't show them that we can train these workers and provide a workforce, you're not going to be successful, in my opinion. And in sort of a workup to potentially looking at this issue, we've been doing some sort of test runs over the last several months. When I say we, I'm talking about Freddie, I'm talking about Larry, I'm talking about Lehman. But we have met and talked with community colleges. They're ready to come to Dickinson County, ready to develop a world-class technical, industrial, work-based, educational opportunity for our citizens. They're ready to come. They told us they will come and on site. They told us they'll work with the school system. They've told us they'll work with business and industry. And it's been several months since we have had that initial meeting to feel them out to see exactly what they felt. But they're willing to do that. So that has to be, as I said, the citizens, our workers, have got to be the hallmark, has to be the focal point of creating this economy in Dickinson County that we hope we'll be able to create. So Mountain Empire, Southwest, and also UVA-wise, to the extent that they can, are willing to help in this workforce training and development. And I'm going to be very frank today. And it's all the way I know to be very frank about things. And to put things clearly on the table. If we don't have the cooperation, we don't have the ability to work constructively with the school board, and this is going to be a component of it, this is not going to work. This plan is not going to work. And we've got to, after, hopefully, if you see fit to develop this plan, we've got to come up on a strategy to engage our superintendent, engage our school board members, and to inform them as to what this plan is, to educate them as to what the plan is, and to have them work with us to create this world-class education system for vocational, technical, and retraining of our citizens. That's going to be vital. I know they're busy on constructing a new school, but you can do more than 2 good things at one time. And it is vitally important. And I would beseech each of you to reach out to your school board member, talk with them separately, talk with them individually about the importance of them engaging and being a part of this plan. And they're written in this plan for a purpose. They're written in it because the purpose is creating jobs and economic opportunity through education and better opportunity for our citizens. If you go down to number 3, is we got to complete the industrial side. We have to complete it. It's been lingering too long, quite frankly, and we've got to get it completed. And I think the steps have been taken recently to try to do that. We've got to get the water, sewer, natural gas up out there, get the road in to do that. Number 4, we have to emphasize our rich quality of life for folks who want to come here. And we've been exploring a possibility, and it's available, and we can put one together. Probably a 5 to 10 minute video extolling the anchors of this plan and why it's important to extol the quality of life along with that to the citizens who are outside this region. Most of the people that when we research, we find you never know that they're looking at you. Businesses and industry outside. What they do, they have people that they hire and retain to go out and look for sites. They look at your newspapers. They want to know if you have a good, sound industrial development authority. They want to know if you have a good board of supervisors and they are willing to work together with the IDA to make their business plan successful. They'll read the internet. They go on Facebook. They'll see as to if this county is united in their opportunity to move forward with economic development, or there are problems that exist. If you've got problems, if you've got issues, they got other places to go. They don't have time to correct your problems. And that's why I'm saying that it's important to let them know in terms of this video and the quality of life documents that we're going to hopefully can put together, that it's uniquely important that this county have the ability to put out and on the internet, in the paper, of our vision, our future, and the ability to work with not only this county, the region around us, the state of Virginia, and the businesses and industries that want to come here. Now think about it. If you don't have unity, if you have disunity, and you're constantly fighting between boards or fighting between members and those kind of things, I'm just being very blunt. It is tough to convince people to work with you. And that's the truth. And that's the only way I know to tell you. It's the truth. And that's why lots of times over historically, this county has not been able to move forward because there's been sometimes personal and individual agendas that stood in their way. And there's mistakes that have been made because of that. This is a unified plan for the county. It's not an individual plan for any board member. It's for our citizens overall. And when you talk, when you represent yourself in the public, you're representing this board and this county when you do that. And when you represent this county and this board, you, in my opinion, need to be extremely cautious about what you say and what you do. You need to be extremely cautious about how you portray yourself and how you portray your board and portray your citizens. And as I said, the only way I know how to be frank about this, and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, and I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings, I'm just trying to be honest with you, is that if this plan is adopted, all of us will have to commit that we're going to put the best positive image of each board out for everybody to see. Everybody to see what we do clearly on their behalf and that we're working on their behalf. And it's crucial to this plan that we be unified as a county and as citizens. Oh, there's differences. We're all going to have differences about issues, but there's right ways and wrong ways to go about differences. And just because you have differences don't mean we don't like each other. We can do it in a professional manner. So I would say that's vitally important as part of this component that we do that. Number 4 is the rich quality of life. We'll talk about that. Our exceptional public educational system, we're going to have to emphasize that. There's no organization, no business, no industry wanting to come to a county that doesn't have a first-rate public education. They just don't want to. They won't come because they know they're not going to get the training. And so we have to make sure we extol the virtues of our public educational system. We have multiple local, state, and regional federal economic development grants, incentives, and assistance available. You've got to know what those are, and we're going to educate you as to what those are. Now, this plan in creating goals is to focus on small and medium firms. Now, somebody was talking the other day, and we were discussing this, and he said, how long have we in Dickinson County, and I think it's Mr. Johnson, talking to him, how long have we been fishing for that big old fish? Now, everybody likes the big fish. Nobody likes the little minnows, so to speak. And we've been fishing for the big fish for 30, 40, 50 years. And quite frankly, the big fish are out there, but they're hard as heck to catch. There are a lot of little small and medium-sized fish out there that you can catch. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 100 jobs that you can catch. We, in my opinion, need to develop an economic development priority list to focus on trying to create these jobs in slugs of tranches of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 jobs at a time. That's my opinion. And the reason being is, number one, availability of land, availability of resources. We have to be able to attract those. Now, there's a lot more of the little fish than there are the big fish. Those who are the big fish, they demand a lot more resources possibly than we can have to offer, to be quite frank with you. And so the creation of these small and medium-sized businesses and local businesses, we've got to be able to help local businesses as well. Manufacturing, energy, information technology, small business development, value-added timber manufacturing, expansion of existing business and industry, surface mining reclamation, solar power, Breaks Interstate Park, part of a master plan, and healthcare are those issues that I think is right for development of Dickinson County. Now, how are you going to go about tracking these industries? How are you going to go about creating economic development? If you go to page 13 of 22, 13 of 22 is that one of the, what we think is one of the most important parts of this economic development plan is to identify the goals that you want to achieve. The second part of that is being able to measure the goals that you have actually achieved or not achieved, and determine the accountability as to why it has not been achieved. And so this is the first time, and I'll emphasize that again, this is the first time in any economic development plan that we can find in Southwest Virginia that specific short-term and long-term goals have specifically set out to be achieved. And in those short-term and long-term goals, it will build the foundation of this economic development plan that we're talking about today. And if you look at them, there's some 40 of those short-term and long-term goals. There's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of work for everybody to do. There's no shortage of work for the Board of Supervisors. There's no shortage of work for the IDA. And please don't feel like you're being left out one way or the other. There is a tremendous amount of work for both of you in this plan to be successful. And if you look at those goals, it attempts to outline the specific things that we have to do in order to be successful as a county. And the first one, right off the bat, is to create this world-class vocational technical education with the public school system. That has to be a very unique and immediate priority. Create a Breaks Interstate Park Corps of Engineer master plan. Corps of Engineers, I've done a little research. The Corps of Engineers is currently creating master plan. I've talked with the Corps of Engineers. There is opportunity to use the Corps property down there in conjunction with the Breaks Park and creating outdoor recreational opportunities and creating jobs. That is possible. They told me it's possible. And one day I was having actually with discussion with the, and a lot of these things we've already been dabbling in. We've been looking at it, and so we know that there's opportunity to complete all of these. There's a basis to do that. There's funds to a basis to that. There's skills to do these things. And there's resources that we may need to help complete them. And I've had a discussion with a major came in here, Corps of Engineers. And the Corps of Engineers helped us build those schools. They have a tremendous amount of money. Most people in Dickinson County don't know how much money they've got. It's actually a fourth state of government in this nation. That's how much money they have. And congressmen all over this country recognize the importance of the Corps of Engineers and what they can bring to a community. And they've already brought a good portion of that in the school systems here. And I kept saying to them, I said, we can't get on this property. We have access to the dam property, the core property. And he said, what is it that you need? What is it that you want? What is it that you're trying to do? And he basically said, and my questions, we will work with you. We will lease to you any and potentially of that property that you wish down there. We can't sell it to you. And that's what I think we've in the past been trying to do, to get him to sell that property to us. And actually, they don't sell that kind of property. They don't change some of the concepts of what the Corps do. But they're willing to lease. Does that mean putting buildings on? Yes. Does that mean building projects on it? Yes. Does that mean coordinating potentially with the Breaks Park? Yes. They will work with us in doing those kind of things, but there has to be a master plan to do it. You just can't go down to there and the Corps, they're going to want to know the details. They want to know what you're planning. They know where you want to put it. And they're willing to work with us, for example, in developing the Breaks Interstate Park. One of the most beautiful parks in the state, one of the greatest fishing lakes in the state. It's hard as heck to fish, I understand, but there's fish in it about bushels down at that lake. They have a lot of land, and they're willing to let us use that land to help economic development. And so that's just some of the examples of things that we've been trying to do and trying to make sure these goals are implementable. Secondly, short-term goals. We've got to upgrade our websites, both IDA and also the county. We've been looking at that. We've looked at some of the facts and information. And there has to be a little money available to upgrade these websites. But we envision, for example, on the website for the IDA, it's going to be a comprehensive website for economic development. It's going to list all the usual things. But one of the things it will do, it will orchestrate this economic development plan into a full picture that somebody, as I said, they look at you. They go on your website, they go on your IDA website, and they want to know what kind of quality of life is down there in Dickinson County. We want to see the quality of life, but we have some opportunities to show them some things through probably about a 10-minute video as to what the quality of life in Dickinson County is all about. Next thing you're going to ask, well, what kind of economic development sites do you have? Every economic development site that we can develop is going to be on your website. It's going to show an aerial view of it. There's going to be a map available to see exactly what's available. It's going to list all the amenities, gas, roads, water, sewer. It's going to list those kind of things. And in addition, it's going to have access to that master list of incentives that may be available from this county, from locality and the region. It's going to have that available. So they do that work before they come to you. They'll know what sites you have, where they're located, what kind of conditions they're in, what kind of state, how many buildings do you have. They want to know what kind of buildings you have ready in terms of whether or not to build a building. That's going to be a decision that you'll have to make, whether or not you're going to build a building. You're going to have to make a decision if we have enough sites. Now, quite frankly, I don't think you do. I know we just bought some property, but they want, what I found in my research, they want multiple opportunities. You got to have product. Mr. Johnson, you can't sell a car unless you got product.
It's very hard to.
You can't sell it. You can't sell the cars. And you got to have different kind of product for different kinds of people, different type of businesses. Somebody may want a 10-acre tract. Somebody may want a 20-acre tract. Somebody may want a 100-acre tract. And you have to have an opportunity to acquire some other sites. And you're going to have to make some decisions of whether or not that you want to build some buildings on some of these sites that have them available. One of the unique things that I found in the research, there is a company that you can retain if you got a prospect that will come in and build a virtual building for you online. And a lot of these companies now are wanting to see a virtual building. They come down and say, we need a 10-acre tract or a 20-acre tract, and we're looking for this square footage. Can you show me what kind of virtual building that you can build me on this site? That's available through technology these days. And we know who they are, we know what they can do, and that they're available to show you virtually on how to build what that business. So when the client comes, you take them out and say, well, here's the site. They want to know more than that. What kind of building can you put on that? Well, if you're ready, you say, give me 10 days, and I'll have you a virtual building that I can show you that we can put on this site for you, or whatever it is, 5 days. And so that's, for example, some of the things that you're going to have to decide in the near future. You know, we're also going to have to increase the graduation rate in Dickinson County. I know it's always a sore topic. But one of the things that they're looking at, how many people are you graduating? How many people are you graduating with skills? And are you educating all of your folks? And so we've got to work with the school system to see exactly what that, and one of the things, and I'll have to check this, whether this is true or not, that we have probably something that may be a problem in terms of our graduation rate. I don't know if it's true or not, but I've seen some data that seem to indicate we have a little problem. Not a big problem, but we have a problem. So we've got to figure out how to graduate more people. We've got to figure out how to create more BAs, more degrees, MA degrees for the county, and keep them here. One of the things, for example, is the Phipps Foundation. The Phipps Foundation, and I am very humbly a member of that foundation. We're having trouble reaching kids in schools and getting them the money that they need from either a technical degree basis, a BA degree, an MA degree, a PhD, or a doctor or lawyer. I think we helped some 220-some kids last year, and people in Dickinson County last year, the Phipps Foundation. But for some reason, we're having trouble reaching those kids in the high school. And I'm being blunt with you. I'm being honest with you. We're having trouble. I don't know what the problem is, but we're having trouble reaching them. We have another foundation. We have the Rotha Foundation. Now, the Phipps Foundation has been, we're growing, every year we grow, and the economy's been good. And we're having trouble finding, and think about this, we're having trouble finding students to say, here's free money. Go get an education. Now, what's wrong with that problem? What's wrong with the issues? We got to find a solution to that. The Rotha Foundation is going to be up to about 35 million shortly. The Phipps Foundation, we're at about $25 million. The foundation is growing every year. Rotha's growing.
Napoleon Hill Foundation as well. We're meeting with Mr. Green today. He's having the same problems. I'm meeting with him and Mr. Compton, the principal. They want to give money away and can't get in to give money away.
That's the same problem that we're having, Mr. Vice Chair. We're having trouble. Give them money. Who'd ever thought you have trouble giving money away to kids who want to go to school? But we got to find a solution to that and work with people to find a solution to that.
What do we have, just as an idea, what do we have in the school to pull that together? And the reason I'm asking that is because they're driven how many counselors they have by what the state will pay. And that's not enough to cover that, but and just as, at one of the economic forums I attended, there was one area that they had an organization that was pulling all the kids together, doing community service, but also sitting them down, showing them how and helping them apply to college, and also the loans and stuff that they would need to go to college. And that's a piece that I think's always been a weakness in school, because two counselors can't cover all that many students.
We have offered to provide funds to the school system and to let them hire their own people to do it. To date, we have not been successful.
Yeah.
And I'm not blaming anybody, I'm just telling you what the problem is. We got to find the problem to the solution. But we have offered funds to hire individuals who are qualified, just not somebody off the street, who come from colleges, and we've had some discussions with Southwest. Southwest are willing to come and help, but we've got to be invited in, and help. And so, if you look at the other issues as creating a world-class vocational technical program, we've got to find a way to increase our population, increase poverty rates. If we create jobs and good incomes, we decrease poverty rates. Reduce drug addiction, and obviously we're working on something to do that. I'll stop a few minutes. I think this is really important. I want to just stop a few minutes, and I know we're covering a lot of things. And you got to sometimes hit your challenges head on and know how to hit them head on. For so long, tragically, we've had a population in Dickinson County and surrounding counties, just not Dickinson, where there's high drug usage, high drug addiction. It impacts the ability to create workers, create good citizens, and it creates, quite frankly, some problems in homes that are just devastating to children in this county and surrounding counties. And, Mr. Vice Chair, I don't know how many kids we have in foster care today, but you
About
probably.
20 right now.
20.
Approximately. It's gone up here.
And a lot of them are probably related to drug addiction, would be my guess.
Most.
Most are drug addiction. We have businesses in the industry that have told me that they can't find sufficient number of workers in this county because people can't pass drug screens. There's one coal company in particular, and I won't mention that coal company, it's not in this county, it was an adjoining coal company. They put out an ad for workers. They got 100 applications. And the word is, and then I think it's accurate, is that 7 of them passed out of 100. Some form of drug addictions. Marijuana was one of them. Marijuana was rampant in terms of those who were smoking marijuana. And there were a lot of excuses as why it was in their bloodstream, but marijuana was there. And of course, amphetamines, opiates, and the scourge of fentanyl, killing, and we have one of the highest death totals in Southwest Virginia in the state. In fact, is that right, Larry? We have one of the
Per
highest.
capita, right?
I'm sorry?
Per capita.
Per
right?
capita, yeah, I'm talking about per capita of deaths. One of the things that we have been part of over the last couple of years, we've been involved, this county has. And when I came back as a county attorney, I assisted the county in trying to help them put that into place. And you probably don't know about it. Our board knows about it to some extent. But that you probably heard a little bit about a settlement, drug settlement, from the big pharma companies. Those have been ratified, and we've just got confirmation that Dickinson County participated in that lawsuit, and there will be funds coming to Dickinson County to assist in drug rehabilitation and assistance for those people. So that's an important part of this plan, this drug rehabilitation. But on the other hand, there has been, and everybody, I guess it's public knowledge, that the county and the IDA jointly have been working on creating a drug rehabilitation center at Red Onion to assist with our citizens and to rehab our citizens. Now, you can try to write them off, those folks who have issues and problems. You can try to put them out of your mind, but you can't. They're part of the issue and problem of us trying to reach these citizens who have these drug addiction problems. And the primary purpose of the Drug Rehabilitation Center, and it's moving forward. I think it's very positive moving forward. We had meetings yesterday, and it's moving forward, is to create an opportunity for all of our citizens who have children and family members to have an opportunity to get the right rehabilitation. And this is unique. You citizens got to understand, this is just not some place you go to drive up and go in and get OxyContin. That's not what it is. That's totally different. What this place does, it's in-house, it's in person, it's 6 months to a year there in this facility with proper medical facilities, proper nurses and doctors training, with proper counseling, with job training, and job opportunity. And these folks who are involved in this, and Freddie has been sort of leading the way in this over the last several months, and a lot of us have been trying to help him, Larry and Lehman and Mitzi and both and the IDA and the board. But there will be funds, federal funds, those are not federal funds, but was created. Not only will we get a share, the county get a share of about, it depends, $1.5 to $2 million of funds that we will be getting to help in this endeavor. But as a part of this plan that we worked with the county, I helped the county with, we helped create an agency in the state of Virginia where some of this funds from several millions of dollars of these funds from the settlements will go into an authority in Richmond, Virginia, which will allow the county to go back and ask for grants and funds to assist in helping their citizens. And so Dickinson County played an important part in that. And Larry has been privy to some of my phone calls and talks and discussions with some of the attorneys involved. And so Dickinson County did play, and I want to emphasize that, through me, but, and I say that, it's Dickinson County, it wasn't me, it's Dickinson County, played a prominent role in creating a fund in Richmond, Virginia, to help create an authority to fund and provide funding, grant funding, to the localities in Virginia. And also played an important part, the county, in getting this other up to $2 million in funding to help. Now, some of your citizens may be listening and say, why is that important? Why is that important? Some folks have sort of, I guess a lot of folks take a dim view of some of the folks who use drugs, take a dim view of people who are addicted to it, and some people may take a dim view to their lifestyles, I guess. But as a society, we're only strong as the weakest link. You're only strong as the weakest link that you have. And that is one of the weak links that we got to find a solution to, and how to rehabilitate and bring these citizens. But the point I want to make is this facility that Freddie has taken a great lead in and helped us move in the right direction, is that they are 80% successful in rehabbing the people who have drug addictions. It is becoming a model for Social Security, for Medicaid, and when we talked to Medicaid in Richmond and the other authorities on this project several weeks ago in terms of signing up and getting licensure for this, they basically said it's the first in Virginia. It is the first in Virginia of having this comprehensive ability to treat your patients, treat your folks who have addiction. They're citizens too. They may not want to know it and acknowledge it right now because of their addiction. But I saw too many good stories in the research that we did as a county of seeing men and women who successfully reclaimed their lives, successfully reclaimed their children, successfully reclaimed their marriages, and successfully went to work and are functioning years out, several years out, through this model. And so I apologize for trying to, I probably have spent a little too much time on that, but I felt impelled to tell you how important I think this creating, and this is one of the goals. And if you look at one of the goals of this thing was to create an opportunity to provide drug rehabilitation to your citizens so that you can make them tax-paying family members again and who are contributing members of our society. Yes, ma'am.
Phillips, maybe just take just one
You
more
may.
minute or two. Of course, the idea is, and we've all been involved in that, but I am so encouraged by the possibility of having the rehab center, and I think it addresses the short term. Short term, we have drug addicted citizens. The heart of that, I think, is the poverty that we've dealt with over the years.
Yes.
And this plan that we're talking about, if we, on the long term, we improve the economic situation, but short term, we've got the rehab center to address the immediate short-term issues with our citizens. And I think it's just such a beautiful, occurrence for things to come together like that, so that we're, on the one hand, we're working on the long term, addressing the poverty, the jobs, the opportunities, but then the short term, we can help our citizens who are suffering right now.
A very astute comment. If you look at this plan, it's to create economic opportunity and jobs.
Right.
And so many of our folks basically say, there ain't nothing to do. There ain't no jobs around. And so they evolve into whatever they evolve to in terms of why they become addicted. And in the short term, it's to make the treatment, but in the long term, it's to create a viable economic base in the county.
Exactly.
That's correct. That's the part of it. So very technically, that is correct. So if you can go through and look at the particular goals that we have outlined, you'll see that each of them specifically has a specific niche in this economic development plan to move us in the right direction. It's all interconnected. It's not piecemeal. All these pieces, these goals are interconnected to push us in the right direction. Now, the last part of this would be the assessment. I'll move on to that. For so long, we've taken in good faith that we're all going to do the right thing, the right reason, and we're going to implement this plan. For so often, we go and take a plan, and once it's finished, throw it inside, throw it on the top of the shelf, put it in the bookcase. For this plan to be successful, you have to implement it. To implement it, you're going to have assessments. You're going to have accountability. And those of us who are working on this plan for you, you're going to have to demand accountability. You're going to have to ask for accountability. You're going to have to make sure, and we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, obviously, and we don't want to be mean to anybody, obviously, but you need to know. Well, you can say, well, Mr. Phillips, did you get that website up within the last 30, 60 days? If I say no, you need to know why I haven't got it up there and when it will be up there. If we go and we want to develop this world-class technical school with the school board, and it's our goal, and we've made all these plans with the colleges and the universities, and we have it in place, and it's not up and going in the next year, you need to ask questions. Why ain't it up? What do you got to do? And so this plan is designed to come to you, and once we select the goals, the short-term goals, long-term goals, there is a reporting mechanism, an evaluation mechanism for you all to make sure that your plan is being carried out. Now, you all are part-time public servants. You have to have people that you trust and that you want at the level to carry this out. Now, my comment today is that there's more work here to do for all of us. You need more personnel to help you do this.
Amen.
You need it. You need more personnel to help you do this. It ain't gonna happen on its own. And Larry, and he's gonna get fuss at me, probably for saying this. Larry is one of the most unique county administrators I've met in my lifetime in public service. Highly competent, very skilled. He's involved in this plan up to his neck. He can't work 24 hours a day.
But he does.
But he does. He's working about 17 or 18.
He does.
Yeah, I know he does. I know he does. He's good.
24/7.
Yeah, he works. I think he sleeps.
I don't think he does. I start at 5:30.
Yeah. He can't do it on his own. Freddie, and I extol his virtue. Freddie is as good a transactional lawyer as there is in Southwest Virginia, and I've worked with all the counties in terms of putting things together and make them happen. And you don't see everything that he does. You don't see everything that Larry does. You don't see everything that Mitzi does. But in the end, you will see a finished product. All the meetings, all the time spent, all the documents drafted, all the headaches that you have to go through to get where you need to go. You don't see that as a public servant. You don't. But I can tell you from behind the scenes, it goes on. But you need some help. And you need some money, seed money, to make this happen. For both boards, there's got to be some seed money to make this happen. It just won't implement itself. The people won't get hired to get it done. Accountability won't get done unless you see that there's a time to move forward with an opportunity to more personnel and more resources. Right now, I'll reemphasize, right now, and I've been privy to a lot of budgets throughout my time in this county and other counties. Boards of supervisors have the luck, and I put that, I've had the luck. Some board of supervisors have the luck of being in sort of an upswing in resources and taxes coming in. Other boards of supervisors I've seen, and to be honest with you, several years ago, this county was about bankrupt. It was, I'm serious, it was just about financially bankrupt. This board of supervisors, and this IDA, is uniquely, at this point in time, in the budget process, as strong as I've ever seen them. the good management, good decisions, and they are sound. I can tell you that. I wouldn't tell you if I didn't know it and I didn't see it. They are sound physically. The time now to make the investment in this economic development plan is now. For 2 reasons. Number one, the county is sound physically, good management, good use of the taxpayer money. Secondly, there is a tremendous, and I say this again, state and federal funds that are going to be available for 5 to 6 to 7 years out there now that's out there all over the place. That is potentially available. Now, if you're ever going to do this economic development plan, if you're ever going to financially able to afford it, now is the time. And there's been times that you couldn't have afforded it. I've seen the budgets historically. You couldn't have afforded to hire somebody else or some other staff to do it. But the public needs to understand that there's a lot of hard work in this plan. There's a lot of long days in this plan. There's a lot of meetings in this plan. There's a lot of consultation in this plan. There's a lot of direction from you that has to come from to make this plan work. But you just can't do it without some personnel and some funding. You just can't do it. And, we have developed, and I say we have an input from everybody to make this plan work. A lot of work's going into it, a lot of thought's going into it. You're given an opportunity to make a decision of your lifetime on this 2 boards. There's not many opportunities in your lifetime that you can really say, that you can point to, a point in your life. And Miss Shelby's been here several years and she can point to one of them. One is the public schools. And Miss Shelby is one of those people that I point to, has been one of the strong supporters of schools, and she is also one of the strong supporters of the new school. And I would commend her for a decision that she made in her life, in her public life, that really had an impact on this county, Ms. Shelby. And I commend you for that. But this is a time that you all have to make this hard decision. Are you going to see this plan, and are you going to act to make sure this plan has a chance of success? I can't do it. Larry can't do it. Freddie can't do it. Mitzi can't do it. We can't. It's your decision now as to how this plan will succeed. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Phillips, as you know, the IDA really can't do it either because of our, I'm not talking about the support of the plan, but in the interest of transparency, the Board of Supervisors, of course, funds us and funds everything here. So, to my mind, the elephant in the room is if we can afford to do this. Actually, I don't think we can afford to not do it, but the commitment on the part of the Board of Supervisors is the beginning of this.
That's why we're here jointly today.
Exactly.
And because it takes both of you to make this successful. We can't do it. One can't do it without the other one.
Right.
And so we have to have joint commitment by both.
But that funding is absolutely essential.
Well, you've seen my email on that.
I did. Yes.
And I've tried not to pull any punches because I want this county to be successful. I want the citizens to be successful.
Are you saying that with the adoption of this plan, then the Board of Supervisors is committing to that funding?
I can't make that decision for them. I think this is a decision that they have to make on their own at some point in time. And in consultation with you all as to what you would like to do. I think this board will have to make that decision.
And I would just say that we are not adopting this plan to do as Mr. Phillips said and put it on the shelf. Assuming we both adopt the plan, we're going to implement the plan. Does that answer the question?
I think it does.
Well, I'm not saying either that all the funding has to come at one time.
Yeah.
You know, it's an overtime situation where we, as you say, we identify the short term and the long term, and then, the funding fits in. But I just want to speak up as I have, and I don't want to go backwards, but, it's always with me, it's been the same song, the second verse, of needing help.
Investment, you have to make an investment in people and resources in this plan.
Absolutely.
But we also have to go through our budgeting
Yes,
process
sir.
and our voting process.
Yes.
But I'm saying, and I think I can speak for everyone, I don't want to, but we're not going to just adopt the plan and put it on the shelf.
I never
We
dreamed that you
intend to
would.
adopt the plan and implement the plan.
I never dreamed that you would, but I did.
I mean, I'm right, I mean,
Yeah, I'm good with that, as you said.
If this plan is adopted today, we have budget hearing Monday.
that's what I'm
and
saying.
Monday is a start to looking at.
I guess this covers that implementation stage at page. Let me get to the last one, and I'm gonna turn this one over. You need a little break from me talking. And I want to turn this over to Larry. There is something on page 2022 that is highly important to the success of this plan. And for years throughout, and it's just not this county, throughout, there's all kinds of people with all kinds of ideas, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's all kinds of people with all kinds of interests, and there's nothing wrong with that. But at some point in time, they become overwhelming, and you chase rabbits down rabbit's holes, and you never catch one. And the question is, how do you maximize the resources and personnel that you have, and the talent that you have here in the county? How do you maximize without wearing yourself out on every little thing that moves around, that we're sort of under, the economic development folks are sort of under the guise that is that we got to pursue everything. And most of them never pan out because of lots of reasons. But you've already exhausted a lot of resources before you get there. This vetting committee is highly important to the success of this plan and the county's economic development opportunities. So if you would, Larry, I'd like for you to take that vetting committee and just talk about it.
I'll be glad to talk to that. Thank you, Mr. Phillips. And as I mentioned in the introduction, this is one of my favorite parts of the plan. And I guess because I'm more of a boots on the ground type person, I understand, the time that it takes and the time that's involved, that both Mitzi and I spend on stuff that sometimes just comes to us as an idea. They have an idea, they want to do something, but they've not really fully thought it out. And I'm more than willing at any time to sit down with anybody to help them any way I can. But sometimes we spend hours on end, countless hours on end, just trying to hold their hand and help them get started to something that really doesn't look like it may be a feasible idea or something that the county can really help or we can help them get funding on. And, we're just trying to eliminate that because we want everybody to be successful and we want to, everybody that we work with, we want to try to make that successful and use our time wisely because, again, we're a very small staff. And I think through the use of a vetting committee, it would be myself, the IDA legal counsel, Mr. Mullins, our county engineer, Mr. Lehman Kendrick, the IDA director, Mitzi, and the chairman of the board of supervisors or her designee, and the chair of the IDA or their designee. Those 6 individuals would make up the vetting committee. And of course, it goes on to say in here, we perform comprehensive due diligence analysis and review of each project. And it goes on page 21 to give some of the information that we would need in order to analyze the project because, the estimated cost to fully implement the project, potential funding sources, job creation, viability of the project. And it goes on, I won't read all of those, but I think it's just very, very critical and very vital to the use of our time and resources that are so limited to put a little bit more on that person, to kind of do a little bit more homework before they come to us, have a little bit more than just a good idea. And that'll kind of help us move it along. It'll enable us to be able to help them even more as well once it gets to that point and gets through the committee. Because we don't want to spend our time going through all this and then when it gets to the point to bring it to the board's not interested in doing that, whichever board it might be, we can't fund that, we can't help with that. And so I think if we get input from both boards initially and then all the staff that's kind of the boots on the ground working on these projects, that would save us a lot of time initially and help the projects that we do work on be more successful in the end, so.
I'm sorry, Larry.
No, that's it.
We were looking forward potentially to the dual adoption of this plan. And basically, this vetting would go for any project above $50,000. Anything less would be handled in a different manner. But this application, it is potentially. It's about a 3-page. It's not very. It's not a overly comprehensive, but it's just some information. For example, just about who you are, what you are, where are you coming from, more or less, a little information. And he wants specific program. Tell me about the project. What kind of project is it that you want? And what is it you got? But the most important thing is funding request information. It says, tell us about what land acquisition you think we ought to have, site development, building costs, ultimate the utilities and roads, closing costs. It's sort of like a little plan that they've got put together to show us that they've got thought in this process, that they got their plan together, that they got money to do it or need money to do it, and tell us exactly how much it's going to cost and how many jobs it's going to create. It's about 2 or 3 little pages. And anyone who can, hopefully it's simple, it's not very complex, and they can fill that out and submit it, and it will go to the vetting committee, and it can be reevaluated any other time if it's not. But the county has set priorities. And I'm an optimist, and I hope once you get this plan in place that you're going to have multiple people who want to do various things. Small businesses in the county, local companies want to do things, the outsiders want to come in. And I'm optimistic that you're going to have to set priorities, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Which one of these do you want to use your resources on? Which one's more likely to succeed? You can chase rabbits all day long, not catch one. We want to catch them. I mean, we don't necessarily want to spend all the resources and plan, but that's why the vetting, we think, is very important to give some structure. I guess that's the issue. We want to give some structure in terms of trying to evaluate what proposals are coming in front of the Board of Supervisors and the IDA. And that's basically it overall.
Mr. Phillips, I might add, if that same individual were going to a bank for money or going to Cumberland
Yes.
Patel or Bassett or any other agency, they would be expected to do something, probably a whole lot more information than what we would be asking for on this, but
I thought I'd mention in DC, the EDA briefed us and said, they're having troubles with, they're seeing so many projects come in and they haven't been properly vetted. So they're looking for people to do a better job of vetting out their own projects to get rid of it. And it's a miracle right now time for them, because there's more money that's been released by Congress than they've ever seen in their entire lifetime. Everyone's excited, but we've got to do our homework to make sure we put everything down.
Piggybacking on what you said, Larry, and I didn't mean to cut you off, Rhonda, but I've got a meeting at 12 with Don Green, who I just referenced, and he's got, and this is for anybody, we need to, I know there was an article in the paper, there was a report on WCYB, but the Napoleon Hill Foundation is offering a $1,000 scholarship for an entrepreneurial business course for Ridgeview juniors and seniors. It's free. The course is offered through UVA-Wise, and only 2 Ridgeview students have signed up. So I'm meeting with Mr. Green, Mr. Compton, and Mr. Hackney to try to get an idea of how to get more Dickinson County students enrolled into that program. And that piggybacks onto what Larry said. We need, not everybody is a John Johnson businessman. Not everybody is a, Josh Evans hustler to go out and hustle and dig up work. I mean, you have to sort of start early in the secondary education program to implement this business mindset in our students. So any student that you all know, please tell them about this. If they want to call me, I can get them coordinated and signed up, but that's an entrepreneurial class that's offered for free, and they'll get college credit. So if they go to Mountain Empire or they go to UVA-Wise, even if they go to another post-secondary school somewhere else, they'll have college course credit. And I didn't mean to derail that, but
I think it's important to share. So.
I spend a lot of time talking, well, I want to do a restaurant. Well, what do you know about restaurant business? Well, nothing. Do you know how to get an LLC? No. Do you know what an S Corp is? No. Do you know how to pay self-employment tax? No. So it's all, but this course does a lot of that. So if y'all know anybody that would be interested, spread the word on that. Sorry, Rhonda.
Thanks
No,
for sharing.
I just wanted to make, I wanted to ask Bud and Larry, sort of what Ginger was alluding to. What does it take, and I know Larry's I don't know all his capabilities are very high, and I don't expect him to work him to death. What, Mr. Phillips, do you recommend that we considering hiring, which I'm just using stuff like grant writer, people who does the website, should we place Larry in charge of the economic development and get him some help in other areas?
I'm not prepared to answer that question today, and let me tell you, I'm not dodging your question. The focal point at this point in time is to draft and adopt, hopefully, if it's your will, this economic development plan. Now, once you develop this plan, then it authorizes us to bring back to you a recommendation as what we believe is the way that it potentially should be in terms of personnel and funding.
So you're gonna make a recommendation
Yes.
on personnel?
Yes.
To implement this
Yes,
plan?
that's
Okay,
exactly
very
what-
good,
yeah.
thank you.
And if I might, I just want to close out real quickly. I know Mr. Evans has to go. But the plan is in front of you. And there's actually two potential things in terms to help implement this plan that we need action on today. But let me say, very humbly, I want to thank each of you for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this historic, it is a historic day in Dickinson County. I want to thank you for that. You asked me to come back and to help you. I think enough of each of you, the county and the citizens, that I've done this, and the citizens need to know this. I've not been paid. I've not asked for a dime. I don't want anything in terms of remuneration. I did this because I like each of you all. I care about Dickinson County. I care about our kids. I care about our citizens. And each of you in public service wouldn't be here if you didn't have some commitment to improve this county and the lives of its citizens. I very humbly came and offered whatever I have available to offer to give you. I've done that. And I want to thank each of you for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this historic day.
And we
because I
really
think-
appreciate what you have done.
I think it is a historic day. I think it's a new beginning. And if you look at the front page, that's what this is all about. Not the past, but the future. It's a new beginning. And I'll go back to the motions. You got two motions potentially. I think. Number one is to approve the plan, and they'll take a vote by each board to jointly approve this plan. And then secondly, there is another motion, once you've done that, that's in the plan I think that you need to consider, and I'll wait until you've done the plan before I'll bring that up.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move that the Dickinson County Board of Supervisors formally approve and adopt the Dickinson County Virginia Strategic Development, Economic Development Plan drafted and proposed and presented to us today. I move that we formally adopt and approve this plan as the focus and priority of economic development for the Dickinson County Board of Supervisors moving forward from today.
I would like to second that motion, and I look forward to implementing this plan. We need it for years, but I'm like, Mr. Evans, we can't lay it up on a shelf. We've got to reach our benchmarks, check them off as we reach them, and go forward. And if it takes money, we need to put up the money. And I'll also say that, Mr. Phillips, one of the best decisions that was ever made in this county also was the judge ordered us to do that new courtroom and courthouse. And that was a tough decision to make, but it was one of the best decisions that was ever made. But we were forced to do it.
I have a question about one of your, it says transfer all IDA financial services to the Dickinson County Board of Supervisors.
That's the second motion we'll discuss after your adoption.
That's the second motion.
Yes.
Well, can we talk a little bit about that motion? What is that exactly?
Well, I think we need to adopt the
Yeah.
We need
plan
to adopt
first. We have a
the
motion and
Yeah.
a second, so
Okay, all right.
I'd like to call a vote.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a moving second on the floor to adopt this plan, to move forward with this plan. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye as well.
Then you need to turn it
Okay, yeah, then we give it to you for,
Mr. Chairman, Mr.
What's expected of us right now? You want us to adopt the plan?
Yes, sir. Motion to adopt the plan, if you will.
I think we need to do some, we have a few other items to discuss before we would entertain taking that motion. And let me just start out by saying, it's a great plan. I know you've worked hard on it. Everybody's worked hard on it. I really appreciate the opportunity that I've been given to offer input into the plan. Other members of this board have been offered opportunities to provide input for the plan. So I can tell that there's been a lot of hard work, a lot of soul searching, a lot of late night eyes flying open and remember to put this in the plan, everything that goes along with that. From my perspective as the chairman of the Industrial Development Authority, I would like to go through the plan and point out on page 5, item number 11. Of course, that's revision and update, the job description of the Industrial Development Authority Executive Director.
I'm sorry, now, okay, I'm the 511 I'm looking at says.
Page 5, Mr. Evans.
No opportunity to discuss.
Page 5,
We've not had, there's many items in this. I'll just be frank, I don't want to step on anybody's toes.
Oh, okay, all right, I was looking at 12. I
Fine, Mr. Evans?
Yes, sir,
Okay.
thank you.
I
Sorry.
just, like I said, it's a great plan. I look forward to implementing the plan. I look forward to working with everybody on the plan. There's just some things in here that we haven't had a chance to discuss as a board. For instance, item number 11 that I just pointed out on page 5. And then if you move on over to page 15, item number 22.
Well, put me down with that one.
Again, it's revised and changed Industrial Development Authority's Executive Director job, duties, and responsibilities. Moving on to page 16, item number 33, transfer all Industrial Development Authority financial services to the Dickinson County Board of Supervisors. That's a huge move for us. And honestly, we haven't had a chance to discuss that as a board whatsoever. And then if you move on to page 18, it mentions key personnel. This is pretty much a job description, I would assume, personnel would be required to have a 4-year degree, multiple skills and talents. And I agree, we need those kind of talents and that experience. We have historically, I've been on the Industrial Development Authority board now for, I'm guessing close to 6 years. And I think during every one of those 6 years budget cycle, we have came to the Board of Supervisors with their hand out and, asked for a lot of help. And I know you folks, one of your biggest responsibilities is balancing the budget. And if you don't have the money, you just ain't got it. I'm glad to hear now that we possibly do have the money. That's a wonderful move. That's a wonderful benchmark to reach. But a lot of the things that I've seen happen over the last several years have been due to the lack of funding for our authority. We just haven't had. We don't have the funds to do this nice website. I can look at the website and tell you it needs work. I can look at our marketing plan. It's non-existent. Our branding plan is non-existent. We need all those things. Those are excellent points to make that needs to be brought out because of this plan. How are we going to get there? Y'all say you got the funding to help us do these things. Can we be just a little bit more clear about that? What are we going to do about these items I pointed out here? I think we need to talk, our board will need to talk about some of these issues internally. Sure.
And, Mr. Chair, what we're looking at on that, as we mentioned, it's kind of unprecedented times right now. We do have the ARPA funds, and a lot of this is eligible uses of ARPA funds, whereas we didn't have in our regular county budget previously, as far as when we talk about things like website development, creating the videos, create the marketing plan, you've got a lot of upfront costs.
Right.
And of course, if we do hire additional personnel, that's gonna be a continued cost. We can fund a couple years of it out of ARPA funding, and of course, by that time, we would hope that we've been successful in some of our efforts in order to try to increase our budgets. Our money's coming in by locating business here, by creating jobs to sustain that position.
Yeah.
That's
I
kind
don't
of the
really-
biggest change that's happened.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Barton. I don't really need, you go down and get into weeds specifically about how you're gonna fund it. I just mean, what are gonna be the changes on a day-to-day level?
I've got one question. Is it true you all have about $300,000 in an account somewhere?
We've got multiple accounts, Josh.
How much money you have?
To answer that question, I can't answer
Well, who
that
can
question
answer?
without pulling out the audit.
Who can answer it? How much money you got?
I don't know the
Is it
total,
300-ish?
On the unrestricted account,
but we've got some in the operating account, and we do have a CD.
Is it upwards of 300? Yes or no?
It's probably close.
unrestricted funds.
Did you all know this?
No, I just found out recently about
So
it.
what
and I
about
was
that
surprised.
money? I mean, you all say you come with your handout, so we didn't know. That's one thing that we want to know.
Yeah, well, I'd like.
You all are an unelected
$300,000
board.
unrestricted on what it can be spent for.
Well, you all you want the autonomy, and so that's what I'm at. So you're autonomous now, your own body, appointed body, unelected, and you have
So you're giving us the
$300,000.
authority to go out and hire.
Well, I don't have to. You got the authority now. You have $300,000 that we didn't know you had,
Obviously,
and maybe you didn't know you had.
I've been reading the audit close enough.
Mr.
If
Chairman,
I wasn't aware there was that kind of unrestricted funds laying around, Josh.
Well, that's the problem.
Yeah,
Do you see what the?
well, if I might, at this point, bring us back to a sort of a center. This plan, once it's adopted, if there is a revision, for example, of the scope and duties responsibilities of the IDA director, it's going to be made by both of you. It's not going to be made by one or by one body or the other one. It's going to be jointly. That's why this is put together. Suppose it's a joint meeting, it's a joint operation, it's a joint blueprint. And the key components of these things, proposals, for example, if there's any substantive changes in the job description, in my opinion, I've looked at it. In my opinion, it needs to be revised. But and the revisions would have to be fleshed out between this board and this board. That's the reason that you were here today. That's the joint. Now, that's the issue. Now, if I might, and I didn't intend to get into this debate and talk about it. All the way I know how to be very frank and upfront. And today is the time for us to tell basically what we know and the information that we have and the information that we don't have, so that you all can make good decisions. Now, the issue here is, and I want to go back and give a basic historic overview of how the Board of Supervisors and the IDA are supposed to work, legislatively, statutorily, and from a basis of how each role's responsibilities are supposed to be there and operate. In the General Assembly, from a historic basis, the counties needed an arm. You notice I said, they needed an arm. They needed an arm to help bring about economic development. They're elected. They needed an appointed board that they could appoint to help them with the focus and direction of economic development. So I would beg to agree that it's somewhat semi-autonomous, but it's not. The IDA is directly responsible to help carry out the duties and responsibilities of economic development and the policies that are set by this board. That's how it was legislatively set up. And I'll give you an example of how sometimes, and that's what I hope to avoid, is that I don't want, this is a joint plan, it's a joint blueprint. We don't want there to be a standing alone board or standing alone IDA that's not involved in economic development. If we are to make progress, it has to be a joint decision on how we move forward. Now, this board has multiple options at its disposal that it can use to get where it wants to go. Some of them are good for the IDA and some of them are bad for the IDA. And we won't discuss those today. But the idea here is, in a shared responsibility and duty, and know exactly what each other's roles and responsibilities are, is the only way that we can function in Dickinson County and get things done. Now, the issue here, and one of them is brought up, and if you need time, and I understand that, and your board can discuss
I
that.
agree with that, if they need more time.
If you need more time to do that, I understand that. But if you want to discuss some of these things in executive session, I'll be glad to meet with you and discuss all those things in executive session with you. It's not time or place to discuss any of this in open session. There is a particular need, and I'll say this, there's a particular need and a reason why the county needs to be the physical agent for the IDA. There's legal reasons, and there's financial reasons why that needs to be done. And number one reason is the folks who are doing economic development don't need to be worrying about balancing the books. There's too much time in gathering resources and data and audits and those kind of things. The focus needs to be, of the economic development folks, needs to be on creating jobs, not balancing the books. That's my opinion from a legal perspective and from a financial perspective. Number two is that the county has available the resources and the ability to manage your accounts. We will be the physical agent for your accounts. We won't own the accounts. It will be the physical agent for your accounts. And they will give you, they would balance your books, they would pay your bills, they would give you an update of all those things done in a very professional, on-time manner. That's the primary reasons why we want, what we recommend, that physical agent be passed. It's a physical agent. It's not taking your money, it's not taking your resources, it's a physical agent.
I think you misunderstood my concerns, and I'm just
Maybe
one
I
board
did.
member. I'm not worried about you all mishandling our money or anything at all like that. And I know you can probably manage it better than we can. It's just that these items have come to us today, and we've not had time to talk about them as a board.
Well, that's
Now,
reasonable.
I'm sitting here talking, but there's
I
5, 6
have no
other
problem
folks
with that,
here.
and the board,
I wish they'd all speak out. You know,
Well-
I'm not trying to be the obstructionist here.
And I apologize to you, Mayor. I thought you all had this.
Question, Mr. Phillips.
You not had,
when-
y'all not seen this
When you
before today?
present the
I've
economic.
had it for a
Not
while,
as a
but
board.
we've not had a chance to look
Okay,
at, talk about
I'm
it as a
sorry about
board.
that. I didn't know that.
No.
sorry, Mr.
Sorry, Mr. Lambert.
When they finish, I'll ask my question.
Go ahead, Butch, I'm sorry.
When presented with this economic plan, this is not law. This is suggestions that we need to consider as we go forward in developing our strategic plans in conjunction with the ideals and the thoughts that are presented in this economic plan. Am I correct?
It's a policy to bind together the two authorities in a common objective. That's
But it's not saying that what Larry is concerned about is what we're going to have to do. It's taking into those considerations and how they will work in our overall strategic planning
pretty much,
process.
yes, I agree.
Okay. I think that should settle that little back and forth. It's not saying that you have to do this, you have to change this, or you have to fund this. It's just a guidance
It's
as we move
aspirational.
forward.
It's aspirational guidance.
Yeah.
But if there's not unity between these two boards, the aspirational policies that exist here, it's not going to work.
I agree, I understand, we have to work together.
I wanted to add too, I really appreciate you taking the time that you dedicated to this plan. And I want to say that this plan has brought to light a lot of, I mean, you know, it's crucial to our future in Dickinson County. We can't keep doing the things that we've been doing and expect any different results. I mean, a lot of people here have put a lot of time and effort in trying to put in their opinions and their time and their thoughts on these boards, and I appreciate that. I'm new to the IDA board, haven't been a member very long, been in the community all my life. I want to see Dickinson County grow. I want to see our population increase. I want to see our kids be able to stay here. I also don't want to see division between these two boards or any board within the county, because it doesn't make any difference what board gets credit for what or who makes the ultimate decision. If it's the right decision for Dickinson County and we can grow, that's what we have to do. So, you know, we've got a couple different directions we can go here. we can take the time to get together and talk about this, and then we can forget it whenever we leave the room, and that's not going to be what we need to do. I think that both boards need to be able to communicate more than what they do. I think that we all need to understand that no matter how much it hurts and whatever the pains are in growing for this county, they have to be addressed, and we have to move forward and make the right decisions. I don't know what the total ins and outs are, but you made a very important point in the beginning whenever you said this is a living document. And if I understand that correctly, that means that it can be changed as we go along, and that, we're in this together. So, just for what it's worth, that's just what I wanted to add. I appreciate you taking the time to do this, and I think that we need to find a way to move forward on a conjoined effort between these two boards and include any other boards that we can for the growth of Dickinson County, whether it be the school board system or whatever it might be. I think we all need to be in this plan together. And I think we need to move forward, find a way to move forward on making things happen.
Now, with the understanding of my comment that this is just a declaration of guidance for us to move forward, one thing I think is lacking in the conclusion of the entire economic plan is who's going to take the lead. Is it the IDA? Is it the Board of Supervisors? If that's not stated somewhere, we're going to be throwing the ball back and forth across the fence, and I just didn't see any guidance to that point of how we should start the process.
But if I might.
See, you're going to get it later.
Well, hey, I wanted to say this, the big thing with this is we're two separate entities right now and somewhat operating not always on the same sheet of music. We all have a role in this. I think the intent behind the plan was to bring us back together and work together. Because we really got to do it, and this is, and I'll say this, last week when I was out there, the EDA came down and they said, we need metrics. We need more information so that we can weed out the chaff easier to get to the wheat, is what the guy said, because there's a lot of requirements also flowing in nationally, but tons of money available.
Well, I can answer you this way. Let me tell you what other counties have done. Wise County has taken a different approach. Wise County has taken over economic development, the Board of Supervisors, entirely within house. They have done that. And that's possible. I can't decide what this board will do. I can't speak for them. But and multiple counties in Southwest Virginia are doing that. They are taking control of the economic development program. They are appropriating the money. They're hiring their own staffs in-house, and they're doing the economic development. And they're using pretty much the authority only for implementation of the projects. That's what they're doing for lots of reasons. This approach is a totally different approach. It's to marry the two boards together. It's marry the opportunity to work together as a team and not be jealous of who's doing what or when, or how much money is there, or who's hiring what. That's not the point. Now, the issue here is, and I know what the issues are. I think I know what some of the issues are. Number one, and if you looked at an email that I sent you earlier, is that at some point in time, the decision, Mr. Lambert, as to which objectives to be pursued are going to be jointly decided. Which objectives do you all want your employees and your economic development people to? You will tell us that. You'll tell us which one of these objectives is it that you wish to move forward on. Which one do you want us to complete? That's the first one. The second one is the issue that's going to have to be decided. Is a real issue, and at some point in time, both boards together has to decide who, if we hire other people to do the work, who are they going to answer to? Are they going to answer to the IDA as an employee, or are they going to answer to the Board of Supervisors as an employee? That decision has to be made between the boards, a joint meeting of the board.
And this plan doesn't answer that. That's something that Mr. Johnson said, a living,
It has to,
evolving mechanism.
Well, I
that's
thought
part-
Bud said you was going to give us your proposal.
yes,
for-
there'll be some proposals coming down the line if you adopt this. Number one, I'll make some recommendations for both boards as to how to set the foundation up. Which of these objectives are key to starting first, you need to complete first, and how you need to complete them, and how to implement them. That's out there. And it's ready to be drafted. Conceptually, it's already there. Now, then the second issue, who's going to be carrying out these duties and responsibilities? It's going to have to be a shared duties and responsibilities in terms of who does what. There is a tremendous amount of work for everybody on the IDA and this board to conclude. You actually will need more than you probably can afford in terms of implementing this plan, but you've got to have some key people to start with. And so it's done to a joint decision as to how to proceed. Now, specifically getting to the issue of how do you start? How do you start this? Number one, you decide what goals and objectives you want us to pursue. So that's going to be directed. The board, the supervisors, nor the IDA independently are going to be able to do that. It's got to be a joint decision on what of these goals and objectives are to be pursued and how they're to be pursued. Secondly, on the issue of manpower, the manpower is also going to have to be discussed as to who and what is responsible for what duties and responsibility. That has to be decided. It's going to have to be divided up. The IDA can't do it all alone. This board can't do it all alone themselves. There's got to be joint responsibilities and duties. Now, there has to be at some point in time, somebody in charge of the employees to ensure the day-to-day operation. That has to be decided. Who's got to have the day-to-day operational oversight of the employees? That has to be decided by you all at some point in time in this plan. And the third, and that's going to be up to the financial aspect of it. This board, you can't appropriate, they can, and they have to decide in terms of the appropriation of how those funds are to be appropriated and where they go. Lots of the money that potentially will be appropriated has to be fed through the IDA. And and a lot of these, like upgrading the websites and those kind of things, right, Granders. It is silly to think financially that they can do it cheaper. They can't. It has to be this board financially who has to take some of these funds and monies and have to go out and procure various things, like a grant writer. It's not going to be our responsibility, potentially it's going to be yours. Going out and to upgrade a website. It's going to have to be procurement of services and through the IDA. For example, all of this, there's work for each of you to do, and that has to be worked out as you go. This is a first opportunity to do these kind of things anywhere, and I can't give you a complete roadmap because I don't know at this point in time how many roads we're going to have, because they're not all out there on the table yet. And if you're looking for 100% a roadmap that's completely developed, it doesn't exist yet. It has to be developed jointly between the two.
Mr. Chair, if I may, the one thing that the IDA and the Board of Supervisors need to understand, because of the unique legislative powers given to the IDA, there's always going to be an IDA.
There has to be.
We are the development arm of the Board of Supervisors, and no matter what happens, they can't do what we can do.
I'm not worried about that.
That's always going to be in place. I just want to make sure everybody.
Sure, I appreciate that comment, but that's not at all a worry to me.
So if we can, now's the time to talk out any issues that you have, and so that you can explanations can be had or whatever. But
The only thing I have noticed is that they put on a really good program out at the Agricultural Center, they knew more about what was going on than I did. And I learned stuff out there that I didn't know. And I think that's been a disconnect between us.
That's what we're trying to solve, that
Yeah,
disconnect in
I
terms
mean,
of.
I want to know
it
what
is.
you know, and I'll tell you what I know. You know, we don't want to work, and Josh made a good point, we are elected, and we appointed you fine individuals, I think. I think you did a good program out there, I was very impressed, I learned a lot of things that I didn't know. And so I think that's the disconnect that some of us are, that I feel, that I'd like to know, somehow, we're gonna have somebody that everybody answers to, and everybody knows what's going on, I think, Larry.
Is there other
Thank you.
questions I can answer for you in terms of where we are? It's not to displace the IDA as authority.
Yeah.
It's not to displace the duties and responsibilities of what the function is of the IDA. It's not the purpose of this plan.
Mr. Chairman, since we've not had an opportunity to discuss the plan as a board, and we do meet Monday night, could we delay our discussion, our further discussion of this until after we've had an opportunity to meet Monday night, and maybe invite Mr. Phillips to come and meet with us if he'd be willing to do that?
Absolutely.
And that would be absolutely appropriate, Mr. Chairman, we can do that.
And I don't fault y'all a bit for that.
I put that in the form of a motion.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor down here. Did y'all hear that?
I'll second that.
Okay, there's a second from Shane. Roll call vote. Shane?
I didn't hear the motion.
To defer the further discussion on the part of the IDA till Monday night.
And invite you
And invite you to be there with us, Mr. Phillips.
Or Mr. Barton, if you're not able to, I'm
Both
sure
of you.
you will, if, you know.
Let me say finally, in my
Can
final
I get a vote on
analysis.
this motion?
I apologize.
Yeah, excuse me. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Floor is yours.
There has to develop a sense of trust between the two boards. I say that very humbly and very sincerely. If that trust doesn't exist, that there is going to be a joint opportunity for both boards to be involved fully in economic development, this plan will not work. And obviously, if this plan doesn't work and it's not a joint plan, then obviously the board will have to decide what direction it's going. That's all I have to, I'm saying that very frankly, is that if there's trust is not there, and there won't be trust, and each side's got to come from each side. Each side's got to trust the other one to do the right thing in this process. If it's not there, it won't work. The trust on it, and the plan is off and on.
Would it be appropriate to invite maybe Madam Chairman of the Board of Supervisors?
Sure,
or
anybody who
any other
wants
members
to,
that come and meet with us as
absolutely.
well?
Anybody who wants to.
Why don't,
Be
just
careful
as a
with the
suggestion, I don't know what I got, but
You
I
got
was
the
thinking
budget
about
hearings
going.
on Monday.
We can recess and allow us to reconvene. or
That's
at
not,
least
that's a
attend.
very good idea, actually.
Because I think others may want to attend too from our board.
Special meeting.
If I can take it, I'll.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
I'll see why not.
I would like to say, Mr. Phillips says I've been around a long time. I think you all are the strongest board that I have ever seen on IDA. I mean,
Great people.
even Matt's not here, Matt's a strong member on that
He
board.
is.
And as I look at you all, I know your background, I think it's the strongest board that we've ever had.
Thank
Agree
you.
on IDA.
100%.
Thank you.
Well, we just want to work jointly together with y'all. I mean, I don't distrust anybody in this room. I don't, there's no distrust. I mean, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make this county successful. That's my job. And I intend to do work as hard as I can at it.
Well, I'm personally very excited. I think
Yeah.
it is a historical moment that maybe maybe we're the first in Virginia, maybe we'll be a pilot for everybody else. And I do thank Mr. Phillips for all the work that's gone into this, because I know that, and I appreciate your giving each of us an opportunity to come and talk to you. I think that was just a wonderful opportunity to explore ideas with you. And I think we just need an opportunity to discuss this as a board, and I believe we can move forward.
I think so too.
But I'm really excited about the prospect of an overall plan.
Great
One
work.
final thought, and I had to leave. I know there's going to be matters maybe that you all go and I'm gonna have to go, but, you know, I wouldn't, I'm speaking solely for myself. I wouldn't be sitting in this seat if the constituents in my district wanted to keep on keeping on. And so, being blunt, having uncomfortable conversations are that's gonna be a part of change.
I think we all have that.
You know what,
pressure, Rob.
and so, I'm not speaking for anyone, but the Willis District Supervisor, until, you know, through the next year and a half, I wouldn't be sitting here if folks in my district that voted for me wanted to keep on keeping on. And so, to change requires bluntness, honesty, and some uncomfortableness. But I think, though, how we've ended this dialogue, we're on the same page. And I echo again what Ms. Willis said. I don't know, not to degrade anyone else that's sitting in your all seats, you all are some of the finest and most educated and business experienced people that we have in the county. And I mean that with the utmost sincerity. You got Shane and John have been in business forever. Donnie was in business. Mr. Lambert is intimately familiar with our mineral and mining history, and Larry is a mayor of the things that Haysop's done is amazing. Miss Center's been in business her whole life and one of the most educated ladies in the whole county and was a county administrator. I admire you for doing this. Y'all get paid less than us, and that's nothing. So I don't want you to construe.
We don't do it for the money.
Now, you're in it for $50, aren't you, Jim?
The way I express my opinions on things is it is how it is, and I'm not apologizing for it, but I want the best for Dickinson County. And if I was just like the other guy, and then like the other guy, and like the other guy, I wouldn't be sitting here. I'm here because I think I've tried to portray to my constituency to do something different for Dickinson County, and let's move forward aggressively. And so that's where I come from, and I don't mean to be personal or whatever, but we have to do things different if we want things different. And that's me. That's me speaking.
I got something I'd like to say, Madam Chair. If, you know, and you hit on it, Josh, there could be hurt feelings, but we gotta rise above that. And, you know, when we discuss this out, and I'll give you, the biggest thing we have to do is be prepared for change. We have to endorse change and work together to formulate what it's gonna be. I know the Air Force that I was a part of, a major part of my life, back in the 90s, the general came back after Desert Storm and said, we're gonna go from 750,000 people to 350,000. Because he recognized that technology was where we had to move towards. And that's why you see most every aircraft we have now can be adapted to be flown from a computerized room on desktop now. I'm not saying they're doing that, but they can do that. And that's where the drones came in and all that, because we recognized we could no longer keep up. People were dollars. So it was, and every airman in the Air Force, from the general on down, had to go through training to change their outlook and look positively towards change management. Ready yourself for, because we really have been trying and tried, and we still haven't been incredibly successful at landing anything, and we've got to kind of work through those.
Madam Chairman, I think Bud addressed it. He says, we have to be adaptable to change in circumstances, and willingness to take calculated risks. The county must have grit and determination with a willingness not to give up on the overall objective to create economic opportunity for the county citizens. So we gotta have some grit, and we gotta take some calculated risks. I think he spelled that out pretty well.
Madam
Just a
Chair,
real minor point, Michelle, I'd like to see low crime rate go on our list of, if it's not there.
Is there anything
Is
else
it there?
we
I
need to
just
vote
missed
on?
it then. I
Will there
didn't
be
see
any
it.
other votes? I don't believe there will be. You intend for us to go out to, or we won't pass that?
Crime rate.
We'll pass that for now. So there won't be any other votes?
I don't think so.
Josh, before you leave, I just always like to say that I'm a firm believer Dixon County's best and brightest days are still in the future.
I do too, Mr. Mayor.
I
I look forward to being down there with you in the week.
He ended up seeing
We're never
it.
going back to the good old days, if they're in the future.
Everybody talks about St. Paul, and rightly so, but I think the town of Hayside gets reported on the things you all done down there. And I
Thank you. I
think I've
appreciate
said that
that.
to you many times, but
I appreciate it. You know, we've
I
got
really
a good
admire
team
what you
down
all
there. It's not
done.
just me.
Time for us to adjourn then, Mr.
Yeah, I
Chairman.
guess that's,
You're a good mayor, Larry.
yes, he
well,
is.
thank you. Like I said, I'm not fishing for compliments. I just
Well, I'll give you a compliment.
I told you, that ain't something new I'm telling you.
You caught me on that extra 300,000. I'm gonna figure that one out.
I
Well,
move for the IDA to adjourn, and we'll see each other Monday night.
That's a motion.
A second.
Motion and a second. All in favor of adjournment?
All right.
I as well.
Madam
Thank
Chair.
you all. Appreciate your opportunity.
Thank you, guys.
you got something to say?
Thank you.
Thank y'all for coming.
Are we at the point we're gonna adjourn?
Well, don't we have closed session?
We're gonna defer the closed session. We're all of us. Okay.
Oh, we're gonna do a
Thank you,
five.
guys.
Is IDA going
My
to close session today, or just us?
Right, yeah, I heard that.
Yeah.
We don't have our council here, but
Oh,
IDA council said.
It was being updated, we're gonna defer that if it's acceptable.
What was this closed session thing?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
if we recess, more than two of us can attend that meeting, right? Yeah,
Yeah, well, that's the whole point.
yeah.
That's what I was saying.
What meeting? You said something about IDA gonna take
Madam Chair, I make a motion to recess.
Okay, did y'all hear that? Ron made a motion that we recess till
I'll
Monday
second
night.
that, and then we can
Monday
reconvene.
night, we'll talk it all, start going.
Can you not just show up at a meeting?
You don't have to.
Well, you can't
Okay.
not discuss business.
Well, I mean, we can sit and listen to them.
Yeah, I mean, we'd like to be able to talk, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
I really like the IDA meeting, and I thought it was good.
We both was there.
It was just one.
Huh?
It was just one.
Shelby and I was there, and John.
So that
Like
is
the IDA meeting.
6 p.m.
No, the 28th.
I mean, there was three of us there.
Can you hear us, Teresa?
Can you hear
Ron's
Teresa?
got a motion to recess this meeting until March 28th at 6 p.m. And I'll second it.
Moving second on the floor to recess this meeting today till Monday. All in favor, please say aye. Aye as well. Okay, we are recessed.
I don't think it's necessary for us to be there.
That's the right way to do it. We need to.